Hello, everybody. So today we're going to talk about Hawaiian culture. So I wanted to start by talking about the Hawaiian Islands. So the Hawaiian Islands are composed of seven islands and four major islands. The biggest one is called Hawaii, and this is the one that actually gave the name to the states. Then we have Maui, Lanai, Molokai, Oahu, Kauai, and Niihau. The capital of Hawaii, Honolulu, is located in the south of the Oahu Island, which is the most populated island of them all. The Hawaiian flag shown here is the only United States of America state flag to feature the British Union flag of England's United Kingdom. Originally, the Hawaiian flag was just a Union Jack, but in 1816, several Western consultants to King Kamehameha suggested the addition of red, white, and blue stripes to it, thus creating a distinctive national flag for the country. Some say that the Hawaiian flag is described as a melting of the US and British flag. Hawaii, as you may know, is the youngest state added to the United States of America. It became the 50th state on August 21st, 1959. Hawaii is known for its volcanic activity, its tourism, and its unique and breathtaking tropical landscape. Let's focus now a little bit more on the history of Hawaii. So, earliest habitation, it's in 300 Common Era after Jesus Christ that the first Polynesian settlers were identified coming from the Marquesas Islands that are part of French Polynesia. But it's in 1778 that a British explorer named James Cook landed at the Waimea Bay on the island of Kauai. He will be the first European to put a foot on the Hawaiian Islands. He named the archipelago the Sandwich Island, and 1 year after its discovery, he was killed at Kalikaua Bay. During the 1780s and 1790s, after a series of battles between the islands that were not united at that time, specifically between Hawaii and Maui, in 1810, King Kamehameha the Great came to power, creating a dynasty that will end later in 1872. He proclaimed himself a single ruler. Then, in 1819, during the reign of Kamehameha II, the majority of the Hawaiians were converted to Christianity that also ended many traditional practices. Then Kamehameha III established a Christian monarchy through the 1840 Constitution. After the dynasty of Kamehameha ended in 1887, the monarch Kalakaua was in power in Hawaii. During his reign, he was forced to sign the Constitution of the Kingdom of Hawaii, also called the Bainet Constitution, favoring the wealthier white elite. After his death, her sister Queen Liliuokalani succeeded him, and in 1893, she proclaimed herself an absolute monarch. During her reign, a group of Euro-American business leaders and residents formed the Committee of Safety. They tried to establish a coup d'etat against the kingdom and seek annexation by the U.S. The government minister of the U.S., John L. Stevens, summoned the U.S. Marines, and the Queen's soldier did not resist. The monarchy was overthrown and was replaced by members of the Committee of Safety. After the overthrow, Stanford B. Dole, citizen of Hawaii, became president of the Republic when the provisional government ended in 1894. In 1896, William McKinley pressed to annex the Republic of Hawaii. In 1900, Hawaii was granted self-governance. After several attempts to become a state, Hawaii remained a territory for 60 years. 4 decades later, December 7th, 1941, Pearl Harbor was the target of an attack from the Japanese army. This attack brought the U.S. into World War II. In March 1959, the Congress passed the Hawaii Admission Act, which U.S. President Dwight Eisenhower signed into law. The referendum asked residents of Hawaii to vote on the statehood bill. 94.3% voted in favor, while 5.7% were opposed to it. After obtaining statehood, the island quickly modernized through construction and a rapidly growing tourism economy. Hawaii became officially the 50th state of the United States on August 21st, 1959, becoming the only state located in Oceania and completely detached from the US, as well as the only state only composed of islands. Let's focus now a little bit more on the identity. So, in terms of identity, Hawaii is said to have the strongest sense of identity of any US state. Hawaii possesses a degree of communal feeling that sets it apart from the other 49 states. Hawaiian said that they all have a thing in common. They all share something. The Hawaiian have a fierce cultural pride from its unique island heritage. Hawaii also has the concept of Hoana, meaning family. This concept explains a kind of extended family that embraces practically all humanity. The people from the island, as well as those they meet when traveling, they said that they treat everyone like family and they try to be inclusive. So the people who are from Hawaii are said to have the Holoa spirit, the Hawaiian charm. Jasmine Trias, an American singer born in Hawaii, said, "We wear our hearts on our sleeve, and that's our identity." As I said before, Hawaiians treat everyone like a member of your family. We call everyone auntie, uncle, brothers, and sister. I've taken, I kind of taken that away from the mainland, she said. Then Kurt Hosaki, a graphic designer that left Hawaii to study in California, said that he doesn't wear as much Hawaiian shirts as much anymore, but he still feels his Hawaiianness in other things and rituals, such as bringing foods to public parties in the Hawaiian communal spirits or not wearing shoes indoors. Then let's focus on nonverbal and verbal communication. And we're going to start with the hula. The hula is considered to be more than a dance. It is the dance of life. In ancient times when writing did not exist, the hula and its songs played an important part in the protection and over history, genealogy, mythology, and Hawaiian culture. Every movement, every gesture, every step, every wiggling tells a story. The hula was a way for indigenous tribes to communicate with the earth and their gods. Before the arrival of Occidental missionaries, the hula was being performed in formal celebrations, aiming to reinforce a social link. The music and songs of hula contain the history and the culture of Hawaii. The majority of people think that the hula was born on Molokai Island, but other legends place its origin on Kauai Island. During a lot of years after the arrival of missionaries, the hula, as well as the language and even Hawaiian music in general, was banned. The hula, in particular, has even become illegal. It is only at the King David Kalakaua sacrament in 1874 that Hawaiian traditions have been reestablished. Hula shows bloomed at the beginning of the 20th century. Today, this unique form of art, highly cultural, has become a symbol of Hawaiian culture throughout the world. Hula is a type of nonverbal communication. They communicate meanings, they tell a story through gestures, sounds, music. Verbal communication is also used in hula, while singing, especially with hula kahiko that we'll see after. The dancers communicate power and their spirituality to the earth and their gods. So, it exists two different types of hula, the hula kahiko and the hula awana. The hula kahiko is the ancestral and traditional form of hula. With booty movements, songs, and choreography inspired from the ancient hula, it is still performed today. This unique style of hula comes with people singing and percussion instruments like the pahu or the ipu. The hula kahiko required a lot of practice and involvement. It is considered as a dance allowing to install a spiritual link with the ancestral history of Hawaii. Then, the hula awana correspond to the modern style of hula, and probably the one that everybody knows. It is usually taught in classic hula school, but it incorporates new music, new choreography, influenced by the contemporary era, but based on ancestral knowledge. This style of hula comes with modern instruments like ukulele, guitar, Hawaiian guitar, bass guitar, or the piano. The annual festival of Merry Monarch, starring the best dancers of the world, takes place in the island of Hawaii during the spring season. The whole festival is dedicated to the king, Kalakaua, because he reestablished those traditions that was previously lost. So now we're going to see a performance of Hula Kahiko at the festival Merry Monarch in 2015. So, as we can see here in hula kahiko, they use percussion instruments and they also sing in the same time. So now we're gonna see a performance of hula hawana, which is really different, and we will see that in this part. We can hear ukulele, guitar, and more modern movements and songs. So after seeing these beautiful dances, we can talk a little bit more about the ethnicity present in Hawaii. So Hawaii is a US state that has the highest percentage of people who self-identify as multiracial. Actually, 24.03% of people consider themselves as multiracial. In fact, a lot of different ethnicities can be found in Hawaiian Island. The biggest part is the Asian ethnicity that compose 38.6% of the population, followed by 24.7% of white people. Only 10% of people are native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islanders. 8.9% are Hispanic. 1.6% are Black or African American, and 0.3% are American Indian, or Alaskan Native. The United States in general does not have an official language, but every state decides on their own official language. Hawaii is the only American state that has two official languages, Hawaiian and English. There is, however, a third unofficial language that is also widely spoken, called Pitkin. It is a slang combining words from many aspects of Hawaiian life and culture. Even if those languages are considered the official language of Hawaii, this is not though those are not the most spoken on the island. English is the most spoken in the majority, but a big part of the people there also speak Ilocano, Tagalog, Japanese, Chinese, and Spanish. Then I found a few traditions and local customs that we can find on the Hawaiian island. And this is also an example of nonverbal communication. So, for example, in Hawaii, you always welcome people with a kiss on the cheek. As soon as you enter a house, you always need to take off your shoes. If you're invited by somebody in Hawaii for a dinner or a party, you should never come with nothing to eat. Always bring something, whether it's dessert or another plate. The flowers that are worn by women have a meaning. If it is on the left ear, it means that she is taken. If the flower is worn on the right ear, she is single. The last one I found is the tradition of the flower necklace, also called a lei. It is a gift that Hawaiians offer for big events such as birthday or graduation. It is also used as a welcome gift for visitors. Now it's time to focus a little bit on pop culture from Hawaii. A lot of pop culture that we know today has emerged from Hawaiian culture. For example, Disney movie Lilo and Stitch, for example, takes place in Hawaii and displays Hawaiian culture with a bunch of traditions and customs such as the hula or the Hawaiian music. It also denounces, a little bit more in the depth of the movie, the effect of tourism on the island and how tourists take over the native of the island. Hawaiian culture also has an influence on fashion. The Hawaiian pattern is used nowadays for a lot of items such as dresses, but the most famous of them all is obviously the Hawaiian shirt. It's used all around the world, and it also shows the spread of the culture. Then, Hawaiian music has become really influential, mostly in the 60s and the 70s, with people like Jimmy Buffett or Elvis Presley or the Beach Boys that used Hawaiian tunes. Also, instruments like the ukulele, the Hawaiian guitar have been used in a lot of music since then. Then our last topic would be tourism, because I think it's a pretty big aspect of Hawaii. So, tourism has become a huge part of Hawaii's economy. After earning statehood in 1959, Hawaii developed and modernized quickly and became a place of attraction from tourists all around the world. Each island of Hawaii has its own assets. Hawaii, the Big Island, is the biggest of the archipelago. It is visited by approximately 14.5% of tourists. Hawaii Island is for natural lovers with its volcanoes and its high peak, like Mauna Kea. It is also the place of coffee production, the only place where coffee is produced in the US. Then we have Oahu, also called the Gathering Place. It is the most populated island and by default, the most visited. 49.6% of tourists come to Oahu. This is also where Honolulu, the capital city, is located. Oahu is a family-friendly island with a bunch of resorts and activities that are established for families, kids, and parents to have fun. Then, Kauai, also called the Garden Isle. It is the least visited of the major four islands, with 11.5% of tourists come to Kauai. It's called the Garden Isle because it's overflowing with unique plants and flowers and wonderful waterfalls. Kauai is for the plant enthusiasts. Maui, also called the Valley Isle, is visited by 24.5% of tourists. Maui is the opposite of Oahu. It is more for the honeymooners, the couple without children, since a lot of resorts are for adults only. The island has a lot of luxury resorts, but is mostly known for its beautiful beaches with white, black, or red sand. It is also a good place to snorkel. Then the other two visited islands are Molokai and Lanai, but the percentage of tourists is pretty low. Molokai is called the Friendly Isle. It is for the people seeking authenticity, hiking trails, and traditions. Lanai is called the Pineapple Isle, and this island is for the people seeking relaxation with a bunch of pineapple farming. Even though tourism significantly helps Hawaii's economy, it also affects the residents of Hawaii. After modernizing, the island developed mostly to welcome the tourists. For example, Oahu is the most developed island because this is where most of the tourists goes. So transportation infrastructures are more developed than anywhere else. However, other places like Big Island in some parts are abandoned because no tourists come there. Hawaiian residents are tired that their home has less infrastructures because they have less tourists. Modernizing is a good effect in general, but it should have been done for the Hawaiian residents before tourists. Natives also feel overwhelmed with tourists that take over the island and sometimes while destroying the ecosystem, which leads to pollution. Some tourists also disrespect the culture. Tourism obviously has a positive effect, but it should stay like this instead of disrespecting the locals and their land. I would finish this presentation and this video by saying that after all, Hawaii is a paradise on earth and it should be protected. I think the culture of Hawaii is beautiful and also should be spread all around the world and should not be abandoned. Hawaii's beautiful nature, unique culture, and hospitality, and I I just wish to visit Hawaii one day. So this is my resources, and this is the end of my video. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you liked it.